Okay, as you'll be aware, the United Kingdom has had some terrorist attacks recently. We've had one in Manchester, which killed 22 people. We've also had a couple in London, and I guess there's an atmosphere of uncertainty really about what's going on in this country and on a wider scale across Europe. So anyway, in Manchester yesterday there was a march against Islamic terrorism. But after the march, there was a series of talks and speeches by various people actually, and I was curious to hear. Being a neutral, I was curious because I like to hear different points of view and opinions, and I thought maybe I could learn something. So right in the middle of Manchester, we have an area called Piccadilly Gardens, which is a public area. It's grass where people can sit and eat a sandwich, or if the sun ever comes out, we can meet up with friends and stuff. So anyway, these people had marched to this area, and then they gave some speeches. Unfortunately, the speaker system that they used was inadequate. It was I couldn't hear what was being said unless you were right near the stage. Then you could hear what was being said. Otherwise, you just couldn't make out anything that was being said. But anyway, I was there for about 3 hours, and I met up with a friend of mine, and we were just having a walk around and just observing it all really. And there was also a counter protest. People from well, I don't know whether they were from the Socialist Union. They were against these so-called right-wing people that were holding this rally. But I was there kind of observing it all, taking in both sides, and just watching the police. And it made me have quite a great deal of respect for the police, really. It's a thankless job. The police are always getting criticised, but there was thousands of people there yesterday. There was an atmosphere of hostility and aggression coming from the right wing side. Funnily enough, the march was called a march against hate. But yeah, I saw a lot of hate coming from these guys, and they did fit a certain stereotype with the aggressive looking, shaved heads, and no, I'm not saying all of them were, because they weren't. There was people there with legitimate grievances about what's going on with Islamic terrorism, or should I say, a minority of people who twist the Quran and commit crimes and murder people. Because obviously, like I said, we've had attacks in this country recently by a few individuals, and it is worrying that that what's going on, that there could be more. So these people, there were people. I'd say there were mostly men at this march. I'd say 95% of them were men between the ages of 18 and say 50 years old. But anyway, after these talks ended, which I couldn't hear, after they ended, then the crowd kind of dispersed a bit, and loads of police were dividing up the two opposing groups. But then this group, this right-wing group, who was kind of saying they were against terrorism and all this, started throwing empty beer bottles, which are made of glass. They were throwing them at its speed, and it wasn't just one or two. There was a lot of bottles thrown, a lot of aggression. And I got the impression that some of these guys are the same people who turn up at football tournaments. They're itching for a fight. They're full of aggression, and to them it's like a day out. And I guess for me it was, but the difference is I was there just observing it all as a neutral. But these guys are itching for violence. That's how I felt. Not all of them, but there did seem to be quite a decent number of them that they suddenly become very, when they're in a group, they suddenly become very like egging each other on, really, spurring each other on, and one threw a bottle and then another, and then there was just missiles going back and forth, pieces of wood, and and I just thought, you're not doing yourself any favours if you're trying to engage the public and you're trying to spread your message, which does seem quite you do have legitimate concerns about what's going on, and some Islamic hate preachers and stuff and all that, and I agree with some of that. But when you start throwing glass bottles at people, then you're losing the argument, and it just shows you for what you are really, which is somebody who is there for the hell of it really. You turn up at football tournaments like football hooligans, the same mentality. And what I just want to add as well is being a neutral yesterday, and I think there was quite a lot of people who were there just to see what was going on really. Like I said, it was in a public space. It wasn't you didn't need a ticket to be there or anything. But what I observed again is the us versus them. So there's people on one side, and then there's people on the other side. But it's funny in life, people try and put you in a category. They try and pigeonhole you. They make assumptions about you. So if not everybody, but some people do that. If you have an opinion, then you must be right wing, or if you have another opinion, then you must be left wing, or if you're against war, then you're a loony liberal, or if you think there should be some gun control, then you're a loony liberal, or if you have an opinion about immigration and you have concerns, then you're a right wing neo-Nazi, or you're a Nazi, and I heard from both sides. I heard abuse being sent yesterday, shouting at each other, and one side was calling the others Nazis, and then the other side was saying that other stuff, abusive stuff, and throwing bottles, and I just think this is the whole problem with the world, and it has been. There's always like two sides, and it's very black and white thinking really, and it's what religions do, and as well us and them, and are very divisive, and we don't live in a utopia, and I don't expect everybody to get on and that everybody should have the same point of view, and but yeah, once it reaches a level of aggression and throwing bottles and stuff, then it's just it's not productive, it's not helping anybody really. So that's all I gotta say. Oh, my t-shirt says Procrastinators Unite tomorrow. And I actually got a few looks wearing this t-shirt yesterday off some aggressive looking guys, and I'm not sure they quite understood the joke of what it meant. But yeah, so thankfully I didn't get my head kicked in, and there you go.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, old chap. Yes, absolutely. I cannot deny any of what you're saying. Wonderful, wonderful. Good evening.